Welcome back to the Blue Door Pub Thunderdome. If you know the bull with Andy Carlson, not Bull Rush. That happens. Minnesota's 87 best daily podcast, show about everything and absolutely nothing at all. Coming right at your ass 5 days a week. Sitting Shotgun is a fellow Bull podcaster, Scott Fish. Follow him on Twitter at ScottFish24. How's it going?
It's going good, man. Good. It's good to be here.
Now, when people always have the number, I ask, what does the number represent? And, all right, so give me two guesses. It's either a sports number growing up or how many beers you had on your 21st. All right, so what's 24?
It was a sports number growing up, but it was as a result of Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh. Yeah.
Big Ken Griffey Jr.
We'll get into all that sports talk with Scott as well. He's pretty well versed. I think it's going to be a good time. Also, a good time is subscribe, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all the other stuff at Andy Carlson Show. But Scott Fitch, senior writer, developer at Dynasty League Football, creator of the Scott Fish Bowl. It's pretty big to have something named after you in the seventh year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Twitter came up with the name. It had a different name up until about 4 years ago, but I used to run a different site, and it was named after that site that I owned. Mm-hmm. And once I closed the doors on that site, I needed to come up with a name, and Twitter thought of that.
Now, I wonder which closes / changes their name more, bank branches or fantasy football websites?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know. Bank branches seem to be mergers a lot, and they just take on.
Well, we were talking about a lot of fantasy football. You're a big movie buff. Yep. I'm sure we'll dive into that too. But the fantasy landscape now, between where you started in X number of years ago,
like 05.
Give me the main difference in the industry between those times?
Well, I think it's a lot more connected now. Mm-hmm. People are actually more able to see what each other is doing out there, and help promote each other, help people work through things. I never had that back in the mid 2000s, but I think the biggest thing is just the pure amount of people doing it now is unreal. Just unreal.
Also, pure amount of stuff that you should get at sodastickco.com. You've seen the skull hat. You've seen it in all the promotions. You know what to do. Hit them up, sodastickco.com. Promo code PURPLEFTW gets you free U.S. shipping. Get it. Yeah, get it. Scott, you seem like a hat guy.
I am a hat guy. My head would fry in the sun if I didn't wear one.
That's not a bald dig, because I'm headed there too. sodastickco.com. Promo code PURPLEFTW. But Scott, so big fantasy guy. Fantasy always interests me because I got more into it late. First year of college, the roommates like, let's start a fantasy football league. Okay, I've been hooked ever since. Now, I'm not. It takes up time, a lot of my free time, but I'm not in depth. I don't get into, well, this guy plays on grass on the road at 7 p.m. on Thursdays. This is what his output is. But I'm more than the casual fan.
Right.
But the hardcore guys that started in like 5th grade, getting the scores. Their mom worked at the airport, so they got the out-of-town newspapers. Like, oh, this is what... those stories, I love those stories. So when did your fantasy journey start?
1992.
Damn.
I was 12 years old at the time, and 12, 13. 92, me and the neighborhood kids, the kids around us and my brother, we wanted to start a fantasy football league. Mm-hmm. My dad played this fantasy basketball league, just Big Ten players, and they played it like a dynasty. They, would draft the incoming people and keep them throughout their career.
That is very specific.
Yes. Yep, just Big Ten players back in the days of like Evan Eschenmeyer and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. If you picked him, you got to play him for 9 years.
Exactly. That's the running joke. That was unreal. But so basically, my first fantasy football league was a dynasty league in 1992, where we drafted all those players. My first pick was Steve Young. And my second pick was Emmitt Smith, because those were the touchdown-only days, the newspaper days you were talking about.
Oh, man. Yeah, because I read about touchdown-only leagues. I'm like, I don't know. But then you think about back then, it's like how you get the stats. It's like you'd have to wait till Monday. You'd have to calculate all the stuff. Your commissioner would be drowned in paperwork. And it's just like, let's just count touchdowns. We're fine.
Yep. And those little sounders at the bottom of your screen, you would just wait for those. You'd sit inside waiting for that and then go out and play after it would hit.
Yeah. Now, so 1992, so a quarter of a century.
Yeah,
of
this
your
will be
life.
my 26th year this upcoming year.
Wow.
That league still exists too. There's only 2 original members, but.
See, that's amazing and beautiful to me because my college league, like I mentioned, got me started. We're still together. And the best part is it's always been a free league, but it's the one that we all care about the most.
Yep,
like at my peak, I was maybe in like 7-8 leagues, some relatively large casual money, whatever. I pared it down to 3. And 2 of them are pay leagues. One of them is that college free one, except every single Sunday, even at the expense of my pay league teams, I'm just like, come on.
Exactly.
Come on. Jalen Richard one time. Yeah.
It's good to have a league that you're that invested in. That's really good. I think I do too.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple leagues, maybe 2 leagues that I really feel that way.
Yeah. And it's not so much for pride or definitely not for monetary gain, but it's for that email or the text is like,
absolutely.
Hey, I'm Effer. Guess what? Damn.
Exactly.
All right. So, what percentage of your fantasy play is dynasty versus redraft?
Right now, I'm in this upcoming year. I'm going to have 7 or 8 leagues, and 4 are dynasty. It used to be a ton, but 35 leagues I used to have. But now I've pared that down.
Yeah, because I always wanted to get into a dynasty league, but then I know that I have an addictive personality, and the amount of time that I spend in the fall on fantasy football, probably a little much, right?
The amount you spend on the draft, it feels like dynasty would be a natural fit for you.
Well, here's my thing. You talking about NFL draft or?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm actually pretty surface there. I get my information from people much smarter than I, which is a sign of a smart person.
Yes.
Hi, Mo.
Yep.
But funny you mentioned the fantasy draft. I actually do like zero prep for that, which is odd considering how much I care about actual fantasy football.
Right.
But I actually don't really start caring until about week 2.
Okay.
And then it's like, all right, come on, waiver. Let's do this. Yeah.
That's not the best time to start working it, but
it's like
if it works, it works.
I mean, it's like Secretariat just hanging out in the back of the tag, just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, let's start the race. All right, you guys get ahead. I'm coming. Yeah.
Yep, just pull past everybody.
Yeah. And so the first time fantasy person, do you recommend a redraft or a dynasty?
Almost always redraft. If it's your first time ever, Dynasty. A lot of people compare checkers to chess, and I can definitely see that. So if you're just starting out, start out with redraft.
Now, you mentioned that you were in a league where you drafted Adrian Pearson in high school.
Yes. Yeah, I've been playing in developmental dynasty leagues, or Devy leagues as they're called, since 1999.
Yep.
So I used to really, really pay attention to incoming college classes and whatnot. Yep. Still in 2 of those.
Wow. So what's the youngest that anyone in that league has drafted someone?
Senior in high school, because that's the rule.
Oh, so you can't go deep like Lane Kiffin offering a scholarship to a 6th grader.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, what are some notable high schoolers that have gotten plucked?
Oh, wow. You can't name a player in the NFL that wasn't plugged in those leagues.
So it's commonplace So like the Fournettes, the Treadwells.
Oh, they are Fournettes and Treadwells. They were like 101, 102 type picks. The more cool ones I like are, for example, I got Kelvin Benjamin in the 10th round of one. I know there are a lot of people that don't like him, but in the 10th round of a Devy league, or LaShawn McCoy, I got him in the 4th round when he was coming out of high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was relatively lightly recruited before he went to Pitt.
Yeah, he wasn't a Devy first rounder stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, 4th round.
How many teams are in that league?
I've actually 2 of them are 10 teams and 2 of them are 12 teams.
Mm. Now, what's the most teams that you've ever had in the league?
Last year's SFB 480 and this year is SFB 720. So upcoming year, 720 teams in one league.
Okay. All right. So. All right, so let's talk about SFB. Now, it's 7, so does that mean it's 7th year?
It is the 7th year.
Okay, but it's 720.
Yep.
So I'm guessing that means 720 teams?
Yep.
Okay.
720 teams.
All right, because you were very kind to invite me into the fray, and I saw on your website, scottfishbowl.com, that there's some pretty heavy hitters in that page. So obviously there's not enough players to go around, but all right. So how does this work?
Okay,
just give me the helicopter view, so I know when to show up, when to draft my team, and when to just be beaten down and disheveled by week 9.
Sure. I guess the elevator pitch version of it is that it's a 720 team Pro-Am with analysts from every site in the league, ESPN, NFL.com, Yahoo, everyone. And
Andy.
And Andy and me. And it's broken out into 12 conferences of 5 divisions each. Each division is a 12-team league.
Okay.
So you play out 12 weeks of the season like any other fantasy league.
Okay.
Week 13, all the good teams get piled into one giant playoff bracket.
All right. So in the 12-team breakdown divisions, that's just like a regular 12-team league.
Yep.
But then there's like you level up if you're one of the lucky teams.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep. I got you.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different strategies that go to that. A lot of people like to play contrarian, play outlier strategies, get high upside guys, because when you get to, like a few years ago, Jamal Charles went nuts in week 14.
Yep.
So half the teams left in the tournament had Jamal Charles. So you want to make sure you have just high upside guys.
Oh, man, that's sort of, you got some DFS in there now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of people compare that to a GPP, the tournament.
Now, how much DFS are you involved in?
Not a lot, honestly. I've played it, but I don't play it every week, and I don't play like tons and tons of lineups like most people.
Yeah, I was. I dabbled on FanDuel or DraftKings because I couldn't avoid the commercials a couple of years ago. But then, I forget who did it. It might have been E60 did a report on the guys like the winningest baseball DFS guy at DraftKings. And he's like, well, here's my spreadsheet, and then I have how this pitcher does on grass during daytime on the road in this time zone. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to beat that guy, especially since he has 200 entries in this tournament.
Right.
And I just got like, all right, I'm going to pick this guy.
What if there was like a DFS site where you were only allowed to play against guys of your level, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's you mentioned you played some poker back in the day. It's like when PokerStars opened up beginners tables, like your account had to be like this new or log this many hands, and just like, I would kind of like being able to play with the fishes as opposed to the sharks.
That'd be me too. I think that'd be a better setup if you could if you were able to play with just the people that are at your level.
Yeah, or I understand that these DFS sites are trying to get the rake on the guy with the 200 entries, but come on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, come on.
Got to be a better way.
Fantasy Cares. Tell me about that.
That is where I run my satellites in for SFB. Basically, every year I run a giant Toys for Tots drive, and I run it through a site called fantasycares.net. What I do is I run best ball leagues. All you do is you sign up, you make a donation to my GoFundMe drive, and I put you in one of these leagues, and I'm going to have many prizes. Some of them are SFB 8 spots for next year. And last year we raised just over $6,000, and this year our goal is $10,000.
Oh, that's awesome!
It is amazing. It's amazing to take my 4-year-old kid to Toys R Us to actually buy these toys and just drop them in the boxes and whatnot, and he gets to actually learn, what we're doing here.
Yeah, and that's such a cool life lesson. It's like, hey, Daddy's taking his passion / job now and is able to give back, and in the spirit of Christmas, it's much better to give than to receive, especially the kids that are less fortunate than you spoiled little.
Exactly. I feel that all the time. He's definitely spoiled. But another part of just something I'm super passionate about is charity. Like I consistently tell people, if you're in a fantasy league, you're in it more for fun usually anyway. Why not take one of the entry fees and give it to charity? It's something your entire league can be proud of, and you honestly won't miss it from a pot.
funny you mentioned that because one of the leagues I was in was actually donated to Toys for Tots.
That's awesome.
Because I was in a college business fraternity, co-ed in school, and the alumni get together, and it's a 16-team PPR.
Nice.
I keep getting second place in that league. But whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's $50 entry fee, and the first place prize is always just some arbitrary gift card for like $87.34, whatever I can scrounge up.
Right.
But what we do is we take all that cash. It all goes into the Toys for Tots fund.
Wow.
We all go out and have a couple of beers and then go shopping, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, I mean it's a good way to give back. And besides, if you're playing fantasy football for money, you got some cash to toss around. Why not feel a little bit better, make someone's life and day just a little bit brighter?
Yeah, that's absolutely. That's amazing. I'm glad you did for Toys for Tots too. But I mean, any charity is. I mean, that's great.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned you got 1 4-year-old son.
Yeah.
All right. So I have a 2-year-old daughter. So keep your son away from mine because we live in the same neck of the woods.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like not spoiling them is extremely tough.
It is. It really is.
Especially with loving grandparents.
Yes.
And relatives and friends. And especially because in our friend group, we're like one of the first couples to have a kid. So, of course, all the quote-unquote aunties and uncles just like... Brrr.
Yep, exactly. We have the first grandkid from my parents. So that's that definitely gets some presents and a lot of love.
Yeah. Smooth segue. So the zero running back strategy.
Okay.
So yeah, that kind of sums up my thoughts on it. It's
that's mine too. So
well, I understand that it's smart. Like say you're in a 10 or 12 team snake draft, you're at the back end, and all the premium 3-down running back workhorses are gone, right? Mm-hmm. So you should adopt that. But going into a draft specifically thinking this is what I'm going to do,
right?
I think that's flawed.
It is. It absolutely is. Every draft is different. Yeah. There's a flow to every draft. I mean, if you're doing something that, like MFL 10s, where there's a lot of sharks and you're doing them consistently, maybe you can develop a strategy there. But generally, I'm not big on going in with a huge strategy, and I'm just not a zero running back guy. Yeah. I think wide receivers are just so deep every year.
Oh, man. Like right now, heading into 2017, before training camp, preseason, anything, who are your top 3 running backs right now? In just standard scoring.
It's obviously for me, and David Johnson 1, Le'Veon Bell 2, and Ezekiel Elliott 3 probably.
Yeah. Who's 4 and 5?
This is where I get a lot of crap. My number 4 is Jay Ajayi from Miami.
Wow.
Which most people have a few spots down, and my number 5 is Melvin Gordon, San Diego.
Now, a lot of steam and buzz has come out of Miami that Jay Ajayi is going to be the man. He's going to get more work, and I understand this is off season. Like you only get positive stories unless it's about Eddie Lacy. Yeah. But I don't know. Like Ajayi coming in, I remember the draftniks were all about that knee, where he's got zero cartilage, and it's just like it's just a matter of time before he ends up. That knee is going to be degenerative. It's going to be like Terrell Davis's ankle. But I don't know. The man can ball. Yeah.
I will ride that until the knee goes out, if that's the case. I really will. And as far as that offense, Gase has always run his running backs just a ton. And Jay Ajayi is a guy who, in his senior year of college, caught 50 passes. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's not capable of catching the ball. I mean, he could be in for a 40-50 catch season. I don't know about the 350 carries like Gase said, but he could be in for a huge year.
Man, because I remember at Boise State, like the whole thing about him was that meme of him drinking out of a pickle juice jar. Mm-hmm. God, I still love that one.
Yep.
And Melvin Gordon 5. Now, slow rookie year.
Yeah.
Second year, picked up some steam. But you're thinking Bolton in the top 5 in year 3.
He had a beat-up line that first year as well. And this year, Danny Woodhead's gone. I mean...
And, oh, my God, that line. They got Feeney and Forrest Lamp. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot better. And they have enough... I know Mike Williams has his herniated disc right now, but they have enough weapons to keep people, keep it honest so that he'll have room to run, catch some things out of the backfield. Yep. He's their back. I know people like Brendan Oliver a little bit and whatnot, but I think he's going to... Bell cows are, I think you said on another podcast, unicorns, and I think he's one of them.
Yeah, because I forgot to mention the college league I'm in. The free one is a 3-keeper league, and so I got David Johnson, Lev Bell on lockdown. It's like,
wow!
Come on, bring it on, baby.
Yeah.
So a Vikings fan, Minnesota.
Yep.
Actually, let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Like, let's start
with my birth
from '92.
Okay.
Through the professional life,
right,
to now full-time fantasy guy.
Yeah. So, I was born and raised in Ely, Minnesota, way up on the border.
Yeah, good camping.
Yeah,
good fishing.
Yep, Boundary Waters area. And then I moved to the cities for a little bit. Moved to St. Peter, Minnesota. Went to college there. I co-managed a video store. Yep. I came in, was the personnel director at a place, and then at the Renaissance Festival, there were 2 of us.
To date yourself, what was the best-selling video at the time when you were working at the store?
The best-selling?
Yeah. Like the one that you carried the most copies of, or was a really big deal?
I think the most copies ever, the biggest deal was probably Titanic.
Yeah.
And we screwed up there because everybody bought it. Like we had a ton of copies and they were never out because everybody was buying it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a 2 VHS set. I remember that.
It was. Braveheart was that way too, I remember.
I do miss video stores because there's nothing like you go with your parents on Friday and it's like, oh, you get the three video deal. It's like your weekend set.
Yep.
You got 3 good flicks. You're good to go.
You want to hear a dirty little secret?
Yes.
I still go to one.
Do you?
I take my 4-year-old son because my wife and I met at that video store that I used to co-manage. So we drive all the way to Shakopee from Egan to go to the family video there at least once a month. He loves it. He loves the video store.
I mean, that's awesome that family video is still open. There's I went to college in Winona at Winona State, and it's like a town that's like 10 years behind all the time. Like, there's a very thriving family video there.
Nice.
I'm like, wow.
That's awesome.
This is amazing.
Yeah, the one in Shakopee has a pizza place attached to it, so that's got to help.
Yeah, there's no Chipotle in Winona, but don't worry, they got family video.
Right.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No, after that, I moved to the cities in, early 2000s, maybe. Moved to Egan in 2007, and that's where I've been since.
Egan's a great area.
It's amazing. Yeah. We live right next to Lebanon Hills. We can walk to trails. It's great.
The wife and I, we lived just south of there, and like South Metro, everyone talks about the western suburbs and stuff. It's like, South's where it's at. If we can just get a freaking Trader Joe's south of the gosh darn
St.
river.
Paul, really. Yeah.
I mean, they're all over the place north of the river. I mean, Egan, at least you guys got Total Wine. We don't have that in Napa Valley yet, but just give it time.
Yeah, Egan's still close enough, but that's.
And you worked a job at Pepsi.
Yeah.
Before now, what's your favorite story from that time?
Favorite story? I don't have a lot of stories from my Pepsi days. I mean, I worked there. I was in my 15th year when I quit to be a full-time fantasy guy, and all I did was go into work, stock shelves, go home. I loved it because you only work 3.5 days a week. You put in 40 to 60 hours in 3.5 days, and then you take a 3.5 day weekend.
Wow.
So, and you don't think about work once during that weekend. It's great.
I worked at a grocery store in high school, and I always liked the Pepsi guy. His name was Mel. He'd come in, he had this salt, pepper in the hair, mustache. Kids were out of the house. He's got some young grandkids, just working the job. Always in a good mood. Just came in, stocked the Pepsi shelves, and talked to the dude. Had a nice life. He had a boat. He had rental properties, and like you said, there's something to be said about a job where it's physical. You're out and about. You're not stuck in a cubicle. You get to meet and talk to people. You get to develop some relationships, and you get to leave work at work.
Yep, exactly.
There's something to be said about that.
It was nice. It was amazing to be able to do that. Yep.
But you gave it up because sugar water is the devil.
Yep.
or fantasy started paying.
It's a little bit of the fantasy started paying.
Tell me about the first fantasy paid gig, and what was it, and what was the first thing that you wrote or talked about?
For my first couple of years, I did a start sit article, and I think it was about 2005. I did a start sit article for a site that has now been bought by eDraft, I believe.
Yeah.
So they're gone. And then in 2007, I started my own site, and that left in 2014. So then Dynasty League football, and now I'm on to a new venture.
You know what the great thing is about fantasy things? Like, I always so rail against this, and it's a bit of a Rorschach test. Is like you see what you want to see. You can see the decline of journalism. You can see the rise of idiocracy, whatever.
Right.
But like on ESPN.com, Rembert Brown's very moving long-form piece about him visiting Selma, that will get like 2 million clicks.
Right.
And then Matthew Berry's Week 9 flex rankings will get 9 million hits.
Yeah. It's unreal.
I mean,
it's a huge
on one hand,
industry.
you could say that's a bit of a travesty. On the other hand, that's the market just being the market and determining what it wants.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I still love start set rankings. Mainly because, like you said, it's confirmation bias. Like,
exactly.
Oh, man. Do I start Golden Tate or do I roll the dice with Adam Humphries in a PPR? Well, it's pretty easy, but that was a bad example.
No, but you're right. And when people ask you directly, I think about 30% of the time, if you don't say the one that they were hoping, you'll get a little bit of an argument because they wanted you to confirm what they wanted.
Yeah. How often do friends, family, randoms on Twitter just hit you up for fantasy advice?
Every week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get texts every week.
Now, do you get full Matthew Berry where you get yelled at when the advice that you gave
No.
ends up?
For some reason, I don't.
Wow.
They I don't know. They just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I know when I made mistakes. I told my own brother like the wrong thing 3 weeks in a row, and he still kept coming to me. Didn't mind.
And that's the weird thing about fantasy. It might just be like a scale thing because you're pretty well established, but Matthew Berry is still
way up there.
And he gets so much hate. And I actually think it's funny that he has the thing where he blocks people, and then you have to donate to a charity to get unblocked.
Yep.
But people overreact on fantasy football, and it may be because of the emotional component, like you said, the whole winning and losing. That's fine. It could be financial, although. If you're betting money that you can't really lose on fantasy, I mean, you maybe got a couple issues, but people adding fantasy analysts, people adding players, and saying really derogatory stuff, even like death threats, and
I'll never understand the adding players thing. That's just wrong.
That's something that I adhere to, even beyond fantasy. Like I will never, at my opinion as a football analyst or commentator, add a player because. What good does it do?
No, none at all.
I mean, if the guy has a bad game, I think Christian Ponder knows that he had a really terrible game. Oh, this is my favorite. This is my favorite anecdote of the day. So Brett Favre, 7th all-time on the Vikings passing list.
Really? I didn't even realize that.
In 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Christian Ponder, number 8.
Oh, man. Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations to Christian Potter, too. Just had his baby.
Oh,
yep.
Now, I feel like Christian Ponder, he's going to go down as one of those athletes that always what could have been. And I'll admit, I was pretty excited when he came in from Florida State. It's like, look at this guy, 3-year starter, Senior Bowl MVP. Look at him go. But actually blame Donovan Fatnab for Christian Ponder because if McNabb could have had 3/4 of a season in him, to just let the kids sit.
Yeah.
Because it was clear that he was a deer in headlights.
Right.
He got shell-shocked early.
Yeah.
And there's no coming back from that. It's like a mini David Carr, what happened to Christian Ponder.
Yeah, he definitely saw ghosts a lot of times.
And I think if you've been given, Christian Ponder given a year to sit, probably could develop into maybe not a starter, but he'd still be in the league as a higher-end backup.
Yeah, there are a lot of backups out there that really probably don't deserve backup roles anymore.
Yeah. And then Kaepernick, late splitter.
Yep, there it is.
I want to thank the Seahawks for giving us off-season things to talk about.
Yeah.
Because them
Lacey
sort of flirting with
Kaepernick
and then adding escalator weight incentives in Eddie Lacy's contract. That's amazing.
Something to watch every couple weeks.
He made it. He did. He's 2 out of 2.
Yeah.
It's good. The Seattle... Well, that's a smooth segue. The Seattle running back group.
Yes.
You got Rawls, you got Lacey, you got Procease.
Yep.
I really love CJ Procease.
Yep.
Confirmation bias.
It's hilarious. I'm going to show you something here. This is bad radio, but I have CJ Procease 32 overall on my redraft rankings.
Yep.
Above both Rawls and Lacey.
Oh wow.
That's for this season. That's not even dynasty rankings.
All right, so, a little surprising, you got Jordan Howard at 6. I think that's it. Oh, I think we're good. That's the best part of the podcast, when they just show up with food.
Nice.
It's good. All right, we're actually going to take a little break. We'll be right back with more Scott Fish talking fantasy here on Bull with Andy Carlson on it. Yeah, it doesn't matter what day it is.
It's a Monday.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more Purple for the Win podcast with Andy Carlson. Come to you all off season long, covering free agency, the draft, OTAs, and then we're on to training camp. Get the show on 1500 ESPN, Podcast One, and the Podcast One app.
Into the Blue Door Pub Studios, baby, and Scott and I just polished off some deliciousness. What'd you get, Scott?
I got a bacon bluesy.
That's always the classic standby. Like first timers here, I always recommend the bacon bluesy or the cease and desist. That's a good one. I have to step it up next time. Okay. I had the Islander bluesy. Oh man, it was good stuff. Get down to all three Twin Cities locations: St. Paul, Longfellow, and University on Como, and also they're just Wing It, the Tennessee hot wings. Highly recommend getting out. I think they'll change them here pretty soon, so get it on in and visit thebdp.com for all the details. So we got Scott Fish. Once again, follow him on Twitter at ScottFish24. And tell me about the current gig. What's a typical day in the life of Scott Fish?
My typical day right now is writing player blurbs.
You mentioned you had the Matt Castle 200 worder.
I had to write 200 words on Matt Castle. I'm writing articles for an upcoming draft kit. I know John was on here. My boss, John Tuvey, was on here a couple months ago talking about we got big things in store for this season.
Yeah.
Big things from.
And I should pry, except I'm too respectful. Even though, because it's coming out soon, and it's big news.
Very soon.
And I'm sure the people will love it. But, yeah. All right, so what is it? No, just kidding. Yeah.
Well, Rob Piffian and Paul Charchian are involved. So,
but walk me through the typical day. So you got writing. And so what time do you get up? When's your writing hours? When do you play with the kid, et cetera?
Okay, so my son gets up. My wife goes to work at 6, so we all get up 5, the whole family. Mm-hmm. He goes to daycare. I leave early for work. I get to work an hour and a half before anyone else.
Yep. Again, it's weird being the fantasy writer who goes to an office.
Yes.
Because you write about fake football to escape the office.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I hop in the office about 6:45 in the morning, and I stay about till 2:45 or 3.
Yep.
And pretty much writing and working on fantasy stuff, watching video, everything, all day.
Yeah, that's the schedule, I think. Screw the 9 to 5, like literally screw the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But if you're able to do your job from 6 or 7, and then you get off at like 2 or 3 while the sun is still shining, while you can still do some things while there's not traffic. Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, this place is amazing. They just want you to get your stuff done. Mm-hmm. If it's 7 to 3 or if it's 9 to 5 or whatever, just get it done. And I love that.
You don't have meetings upon meetings upon meetings?
There are meetings, but but it's all within my schedule. So
I imagine they're fun meetings though, because here's my thing. In podcasting, I've been to a couple of podcast conferences, and I've hung around a bunch of fantasy football people. It's something that you can't accidentally do. Like, it's not something that you're stuck in it for the money, or your dad was a fantasy football writer, so you're taking over the business, so you're kind of saddled in. So you never meet unhappy people in podcasting because you can't accidentally start a podcast.
Right.
And fantasy football, because that's a hobby, it's activity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about that self-selecting group.
Yeah. Any industry like that where you literally can't be in it unless you want to be in it. You're going to find a lot of happy people.
Except the happy people who tell bad beat stories about their fantasy teams, or your neighbor comes out, you're doing some yard work, and the neighbor comes off the fence and is like, hey, let me tell you about my eight-team league. It's 2 quarterbacks, right? But just for some levity, what's been your worst fantasy bad beat?
Ooh. Can I give my worst fantasy call? And I still remember it to this day.
Yeah.
Well, I have several of those, so many. But I still remember 1995. my Dynasty rookie draft, like basically standing on the table saying J.J. Stokes was the next Jerry Rice. J.J. Stokes out of UCLA for the 49ers.
The Niners were thinking it too.
yeah, did not happen. He had a couple productive years, but nothing, not even a wide receiver one.
Yeah, like, who's been your favorite sleeper that you've come across?
That I don't know. I pulled Antonio Gates out of the hat before he emerged. Jimmy Graham, I think people saw coming at the end of that year, but I was all over him the next year.
Now give me someone like a Mike Fury. the 2 seasons he was 1,000-yard receiver.
I don't know that I've had anyone that deep that I can think of off the top of my head. I know I've had a few, but no, I can't think of something off the top of my head here.
I was thinking like it had to be one of the first years I was playing fantasy, and Jerome Harrison, the pride of Washington State, he had a brain tumor that forced him to retire. I hope he's doing well now. Jerome, if you're listening, we love you. But Jerome Harrison for the Browns, he blew up like the weeks 14 through 16, so the meat of the fantasy schedule, and he had like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns against Kansas City. I'm just like, who is this guy? And then he did nothing ever again.
Oh, there are players like that all over the place.
Sam Kangata.
Oh, Sam Kangata, the Packer. Wow.
Yeah. See, this is my favorite thing about hanging out with fantasy people is that you can just drop a name, and then they're like, oh. Or like, he won me my league, or he cost me my league, etc.
Yeah. We're the guys that remember that Peyton Hillis was a thing one year,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the little names are the obscure ones are always the fun ones.
And it's always running backs because well, at its core, it's even in the PPR, like running back is still majorly important, even though a lot of teams are going towards running back by committee. Like we said in the beginning, like the 3-down bell cow back is kind of a unicorn, but that makes it that much more important.
Exactly. Yeah, and it makes it that much more important, at least for me, to draft one early. If there's a unicorn out there, I need to fill that spot. I just do. I can get a lot of wide receivers that can make up the difference.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of rookie unicorns, how are you placing place show? I don't know horse racing terms, but the rookie running backs.
Yes.
So you got Fournette.
Yes.
You got Cook. You got Mixon. You got McCaffrey.
Right.
Like how are you placing them in a dynasty?
Well, right now, I know there are a lot of people that are going to disagree with me on this, but I still have Fournette one. I think he's going to get every opportunity there. Yep. He may not be the PPR back, but he's a better catcher than people think, even though he hasn't had a lot of catches. He's kind of like Adrian Peterson.
Yep.
Wasn't asked to. Peterson had 2 40-plus catch years.
Yep.
I think Fournette could have that. Then I have McCaffrey, then Mixon, then Cook out of those 4.
Yep. Man. The Joe Mixon versus Dalvin Cook, they're going to be linked because I feel like
the off the field.
I feel like the strategy of Spielman and Zimmer, looking back on it, it was sort of bracing the fan base, like, hey, we may take Joe Mixon, but at the 11th hour, ownership was like, no. But the Vikings trading up to 41, taking Dalvin Cook when they could have had Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon ironically goes at number 48 overall, where the Vikings were sitting, but whatever. Yep. And I think they're forever going to be linked, especially in Vikings fans' minds. Like, oh, thank goodness we got Dalvin if he does good, or we could have had Mixon, you idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, she pushed him first, which was always the most obtuse argument.
Oh, I completely agree.
Like I was during the draft process, I was pretty hard on Joe Mixon. Well, rightfully so.
Right.
But Oklahoma Twitter, oh man, like they drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Like whatever Bob Stoops was handing out. Like Bob Stoops retiring, like his lasting legacy right at the end was like, hey, let me get D.D. Westbrook and Joe Mixon back on the field. Yeah, let's do that.
I'll have to tell you a story off the air that an Oklahoma fan told me.
Oh, boy.
It just makes me shake my head at even having that belief system.
Well, my whole thing with Mixon and also to Adrian Peterson going back a couple years, like, don't warp your own belief system or morals to fit having your player play. If you want him to play because he can help your team win on Sundays, just say that. It's like, I don't care what he did off the field. He's not in jail. Put him on the field. I don't care. Just say that. I can respect that. But the whole, well, that's how Adrian was raised, and that's the South, and it's like, nah. Or, Mixon was pushed, or blah, blah, blah. It's better than domestic violence. I'm just like,
yeah, exactly.
You would never make that excuse for a random jabroni off the street, but you're making it because the guy can tote the rock.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But Yeah. So you're higher on Mixon than Cook long term.
I am. I think that he can take both those roles. I know he was in a committee with P. Ryan in college, but I still worry about Cook's injury possibilities a little more.
Yeah.
Our offensive line, at least to start, is, although we've tried to make improvements, it's not great right now.
Now you're still the Vikings fan, even though I feel like fantasy, you sort of warp and you sort of become a team free agent.
Yeah.
You're more of a fan of your team because, like one of the wife's cousins, he's ironically a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, except he goes out, gets the stitch, like $250 authentic jerseys of whoever's on his fantasy team.
Wow. Yeah.
That's dedication to
that
the
happens.
Yeah.
That happens. I've been a Vikings fan with, as I've told you, Barry Sanders jerseys, Steve Young jerseys. I wanted a Carl Pickens jersey so bad for a while.
Oh, Carl Pickens.
I wanted a Herman Moore jersey, even though he's in the division.
Yep. Man. Again, these fantasy conversations where you get nostalgic talking about like older names. Like you just dropped the Carl Pickens and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like I can't even remember the last time I thought about Carl Pickens.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or, gosh, who was it? Peter Warwick back in the day.
Oh, Peter Warwick. Yeah. I love. Oh man.
He was supposed to be the shiz. He sort of fizzled out. Or, do you remember Snoop Minnis?
I remember the name. I don't remember.
Florida State. He was after Peter Warwick, and he was like Chris Wenke's, the pride of St. Paul's, main go-to receiver at Florida State.
Okay.
And he flamed out with the Chiefs, but everyone flames out with the Chiefs. Or do you remember Jonathan Baldwin, A.J. Jenkins?
Yep. The what was his nickname in college? The human helicopter or something like that?
And then the Chiefs and the 49ers were like, hey, you want to swap garbage? All right.
Former second rounder for former second rounder. Let's do it.
Now, we talked about your worst call. What's been your best call in fantasy? It could be season long. It could be just a single game.
My best call might be a bust.
Yeah.
In college, I said James White would be a better NFL pro than Monty Ball. And Monty Ball, everyone loved.
Yeah.
Talked about, had a second-round grade. The year that Ball came in, or the year that Ball was being drafted in the first and second round in Denver, they said he'd walk into 10 touchdowns. Yeah. I'm like, I do not see this. Yeah. I do not see this as translating, and it didn't.
Now, with rookies coming in, how much overlap is there with actual NFL draft scouting?
Wow, I think it's almost the same.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's got to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, you want to draft good players for your fantasy team, and that usually translates into fantasy points. I mean, good players in the NFL, that translates into points. And
also, injuries are really important, and also the off the field, is this guy going to have a 2-game suspension every year like Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, or be tested 3 times a week like Martavis Bryant.
Man, I just feel kind of bad for the guys that get popped for weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, eventually the league will...
Yeah, at some point.
I mean, because when the CBA runs out in 2021, there's going to be a strike or a lockout or a combination of the two. And, like, the NFLPA is the weakest union in all the sports leagues in the most violent and short-term league, where it's just amazing how the owners have the players just over a barrel.
Yeah. Yeah, they've already rolled back the touchdown celebrations. I gotta imagine but I know, but the way the country's going, I can't imagine the weed thing holding on too much longer.
Yeah, and we had the concussions a couple years ago. That still lingers in people's mind. I think the opioids and the painkillers is going to be next. Yeah, where like you film these guys full of Percocet and Oxy and tell them like, all right, go out and get them.
Yeah.
As opposed to. On Mondays, letting the guys have a half a joint to just feel a little bit better about their joints.
Yeah, pain medication.
But argument for another day. All right, so big movie buff.
Yeah.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel. Right now.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
You can say both.
Well, no, right now it's definitely more Marvel just because, I mean, I loved Wonder Woman. Don't get me wrong, I loved Wonder Woman, but Suicide Squad was entertaining but not great, and Superman versus Batman, it was okay, but it wasn't really that good. I still laugh hysterically at some of those. there's a point in Superman versus Batman where they're like, hey, come look at this, and all the newsroom goes over to the TV to watch a vandal.
Yeah.
This is a town with supervillains, and they're like, look, someone's graffitiing a statue. That's big news, apparently.
I feel like Suicide Squad was a missed opportunity.
Yes.
People were, and Batman versus Superman, people have been waiting for that for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, so it didn't meet. Yeah.
It's almost like they're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Because, Marvel's dominating right now. Like, they can take obscure characters, crap them out, and then all of a sudden you have Guardians, which is a larger-than-life franchise now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if it was just written so well. Great soundtrack, comedy. Everybody loves Chris Pratt. Yeah, it's that I don't know though. Wonder Woman was really good, so hopefully maybe this is a changing of the guard.
It could be, and I liked Wonder Woman because it felt like any movie. I'm out whenever a dragon shows up, or like whenever like there's magic and stuff.
Yeah,
that's why I'm sort of out on most superhero movies.
Yeah,
but this one, Wonder Woman. I was pretty much in. I mean, it's a good story overall. I am annoyed that Chris Pine is in 2 franchises now.
Yeah.
That annoys me a little bit. It's like...
Well, wasn't the third one beyond the last of his contract in Star Trek?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're all signed on for 3.
Yeah. Oh.
So I don't know where it's going now.
Man, I love that reboot, though.
Yeah, I did too. I'm one of the rare few that actually loves Into Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Benedict Cumberbatch's character in that was awesome. Khan was awesome.
His performance was great, except the entire time we're like, this guy's Khan. No, he's totally not Khan.
Yeah.
He's not Khan. He's not Khan. He's not. All right, I'm Khan.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, now Star Trek over Star Wars.
I am a Star Trek guy.
Okay.
Yep, my wife is a Star Wars girl.
Oh.
So.
See, that's like Ohio State and Michigan coming together for the couple.
She's okay with both. I'm okay with both. The other, she's okay with the other, but we definitely have our sides.
Yeah. It's like, pretty much. Like I love like gritty, realistic movies. I love historical depictions, and like I love medieval movies, right?
Right.
But whenever like Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy tries to pull a sword out of a
King
stone,
Arthur,
I'm like, all right, done.
Nope.
Click. Next.
Yeah, there have been a lot of those recently.
What TV are you guys into?
Big Bang Theory, Modern Family, Blackish, that kind of stuff.
Oh, man. I've just had a little mini binging renaissance with sitcoms because so I'm a huge House of Cards fan. I haven't touched season 5 yet.
Okay.
But it's weird because what I would do the day that the season would come out, I always come out on a Friday. I get all my work done Monday through Thursday.
Right.
I get up at 2
Nice.
when it came out, binge it, watch it all, have dinner, and be done with never revisit it.
Nice.
So that's how big of a fan I was. But I don't know. Hour-long dramas, whether it be on TV or streaming, just take too much emotional investment.
They do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, my wife and I, there's an hour long that we never, ever miss. That's Doctor Who. We're big Who fans, so that is one. We even rewatch old episodes at night.
Who's been your favorite Doctor Who?
My wife and I are both Tennant guys, but Matt Smith is really close. And the first Eccleston, he's underrated. I don't like Capaldi though. I'm not a big fan of this.
Now, how many actors have played Doctor Who?
They're gonna have a 13th come in soon, so 12 total now.
Now, how long before it's Idris Elba as Doctor Who?
I don't know. Maybe this next one. No, I almost think he's too big for the role now. I think he might be too big for the role.
That could be, yeah. Because I remember there was some steam about him playing James Bond. I was like, oh man, that would be awesome.
That would be. He would make a really good Bond. Yeah.
And speaking of Bonds and the reboots, I love Daniel Craig, Casino Royale, just putting a darker spin on it, a little bit more realistic spin.
Right, yeah.
Brosnan was great. It got a little bit weird towards the end. Like the Halle Berry one was like...
Christmas is coming. And stuff. Oh, yeah.
Go... All right. I know this is recency bias, but I think my favorite Bond movies, top 3, are Casino Royale, GoldenEye, and probably Skyfall.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm probably in the same boat. I actually didn't really get into Bond movies until later on, and I thought I thought they were a little bit hokey at times.
I mean, Roger Moore, rest in peace.
When you said the more recent ones seem more like realistic, that's probably what I lean towards.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a trend across all cinema because that's what the market is dictating. That's what people want. Yeah, Adam West, again, rest in peace, of what Batman used to be. Even Michael Keaton's Batman, there was still some hokiness in it.
There really was,
some Tim Burton-ness, and then of course Batman and Robin was, Schumacher, get out of here. But then the Christopher Nolan trilogy, like that was a shot in the jugular.
Yes,
that was amazing.
Yeah,
that was peak DC.
Yep. I didn't even think of that when I was considering DC versus Marvel. I think I'd still go Marvel, but yeah, those were amazing. I'm a big Keaton as Batman fan, not so much the others, but Bale was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I actually think Batman Forever, like Val Kilmer, he was eyed.
Yeah,
but that just might be, it hit me in the right age bracket because I remember getting like the Riddler like toys and the soundtrack was Seal and like my entire like 11-year-old life, like baby, I remember. But the whole James Bond thing, it's like, all right, so there's going to be a car, there's going to be guns, there's going to be girls, there's going to be explosions.
Be a water scene.
Yeah, there's going to be booze, and that's it. Yeah. And like the whole getting what you pay for thing, like as opposed to, we're sipping on some very nice craft beers, but I feel like beer snobbery is sort of taken over. Sort of like movie snobbery. It's like, oh, you don't get Moonlight, or you don't get La La Land, or you don't get this foreign flick that won 5 Oscars, except only 4 people saw it total. But it's like no, like I like the Fast and the Furious movies. I don't even care.
I love
them. IDC. I don't care because it's escapism.
Yep.
Like you got the real world.
Absolutely.
And bring it full circle because this started by talking about sitcoms. It's like. We love 30 Rock, Parks and Rec. We started watching Last Man Standing, even though it got canceled, but whatever. And there's something about, you know what you're getting, 22 minutes, contained story, saccharine sweet, happy ending.
Like, there's going to be bad jokes, but they're entertaining. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. How did we get on this?
I don't know. The Fast and the Furious, I'm with you on that. Love those.
I love that they started out street racing and now they're like international thieves that battle submarines.
I know. I recently rewatched the entire series, and at least in the first one, the FBI, the FBI treats Dominic like he's a big deal in that one. So at least there's a little bit of continuity there, but not much because they're like amazing now.
Well, Bill Simmons is a big Fast and Furious fan. He brought up this point. It's something I had thought about, but it makes a lot of sense when you hear it. It's like, Dominic Toretto started out in the first movie as some quasi-cholo street racer, blah, 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 like low-timey, like East LA guy. And then all of a sudden in the future movie is like, oh, he's internationally known. He has friends in Brazil. He has friends in these foreign countries. He has contacts.
Yep.
What happened?
Yeah.
Did he read The Secret?
Yeah, where did he get all those? In between the movies.
Yeah.
While Tokyo Drift was taking place or whatever.
Yeah.
I suppose that was between 6 and 7, though.
Yeah. That was my run joke for a while. It's like everything's a prequel to Tokyo Drift.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of was for a bit.
Now, all right, so give me Desert Island, 3 movies that you have to watch for in perpetuity.
Oh, jeez.
In perpetuity? That's not a word, whatever.
In perpetuity.
Yeah.
Wow. I think...
Ooh, I will let you pick series.
You will let me pick series?
Yeah. So you could say Fast and Furious series.
Oh, wow. Well, I think I would take Fast and Furious series.
Just 8 of them.
Such an adrenaline rush. Can I bring TV shows? No.
You can bring TV shows. I'll let you do that about that.
Wow. Now you're being really nice. Yeah. Well, I think I'd probably bring the Doctor Who's. I'd bring Fast and the Furious series. And, oh boy, there's so many. I think probably Big Bang Theory, all of those. They're so easy to just go to sleep to and just,
You wouldn't bring Castaway? Be like, all right, so this is how we got off the island.
No, I don't think I would. I didn't hate that movie, but it's okay.
Now, I've talked about this like 6-7 times on the show, but whatever. But the Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford situation is Castaway.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Teddy Bridgewater is Tom Hanks.
Yes.
And we thought he was dead. We thought he was lost at sea. Vikings fans were Helen Hunt. And we're very sad. We eventually moved on because Sam Bradford is Chris Noth. He's safe. He's got a good job. I'm sure he's got good credit. sure he's a nice guy, but then Teddy Bridgewater, those hype videos from the Vikings Twitter account at OTAs, that's Tom Hanks coming back.
Yep.
He's back. So now we're confused.
Yep.
And now we're going to be in the scene in the driveway where we almost run off with him, but we're like, no, we'll stay at this.
We'll stay with
house.
Bradford and let Teddy go.
If you had to bet $100 bill in 2 years, what's the Vikings quarterback situation look like?
Probably like it was right before we got Ponder. We are trotting out Bridgewater, who isn't what he is, maybe, or maybe he's gone. Maybe Bradford's already hit the cliff.
Yep.
We're trying to draft quarterback that tried to shoehorn him in. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little pessimistic there, but it's just been too many years for me of watching the Vikings go through this stuff.
So 2019, week 1, who for $100 bill, who's the starting quarterback? Bradford, Teddy, or other?
When's Teddy's contract at?
Well, it's up after this year, but there's talk about the tolling. Maybe it carries over to next year. Bradford's done after this year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, let's say Bradford and him are both on the roster. $100 bill. I'm going to go with Teddy.
Oh.
I hate that. I hate having to bet $100 on it, but I'm going there.
Now, are you in Team Teddy?
Yeah, I'm in Team Teddy.
Yeah. God, I mean, that was the most frustrating thing because seeing him in Mankato, confident, he looked like he put on a little bit more muscle. His deep ball looked great, better than it had his first 2 years. And it's like, this is the year 3. He's going to make the leap.
Yep.
And then we saw a couple glimpses against San Diego in the preseason. Then
freakiest.
There. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I never expected when we got him that he'd be a 14-touchdown consecutive year quarterback. You know, I thought he was I didn't think he was like Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, but I thought he was going to be our franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Well, the whole knockabout on him in the draft process is like, he's got a thin frame. He doesn't have a great downfield arm. But I just remember the piece that it was an MMQB writer. I can't remember his name, but a great piece about the offense that Teddy ran. It's where it was basically his offense. Like he came in, he drew up what he liked. It was like, these are my checks at the line, everything like that. And that's pretty advanced, especially for Louisville was on the up and coming. They're still in the All-American Conference, not like big time college football, but whatever. And then I just remember watching Thursday Night Football, and then every other week there would be a cut in because Louisville was playing like Central Florida or UConn or whatever. It's like, look what Teddy Bridgewater did, and you just show great leadership, amazing touchdown pass, come from behind win, It's like, you can't quantify it.
Yeah, but
he had it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do remember even people started to go that route of how much was Devontae Parker and stuff like that, and I'm like, no, I really liked him.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I digress. I feel like Bradford's like he's the safe option.
Yeah.
He's like getting the chicken sandwich at a new restaurant that you've never tried before.
Yep. He's your second round purgatory player. He's not going to win you the championship, but he'll get you. He can make a playoff run maybe sometime.
Yeah. Well, I sort of lump Bradford in like he's a top 15 quarterback.
He's an NFL caliber starter. Some teams don't have that.
Yeah, like. You could probably win a Super Bowl with Bradford. You won't win one because of him. But I also think, not stylistically wise, but I think he's in the same boat as like a Joe Flacco, where like if he got hot at the right time, he could take a team to a Super Bowl and win, etc. But are you really excited about building a team around him?
No.
Although Flacco's got Macklin now.
Yeah, might get Decker too.
Yeah. The couple more questions, then we'll get you out of here. Get out of your hair. Oh, sorry, that was a bad one.
I'm fine with it. I own it.
What's the long-term plan? Like, and I know this is like a hokey interview question, but it's
5-year plan.
Yeah. Where do you see the industry? All right, so how about the industry in general? Like fantasy has hit it big. I think there's still room to grow. Mm-hmm. Where do you see it shifting and expanding, say, in the next decade?
Well, I think. Well, it's definitely going to get bigger. I think DFS is going to, at some point, lawmakers are going to start to allow DFS and start to allow more fantasy sites to do what they do. I feel like those freedoms are coming. I think that even within our lifetimes, hopefully gambling online becomes becomes a legality. But for now, I'm hoping that goes that route and DFS gets bigger, because when that gets bigger, not just DFS, but when anything in the fantasy industry is allowed to do what they can, the whole industry is going to grow. Mm-hmm. More people are going to get involved. I think we're going to hit a point where a lot of these smaller places might start to like buy each other out or combine and try to actually make some waves out there. Yep. Right now, there's just a ton of little sites everywhere, and I think at some point those writers are going to move to bigger sites, and sites will combine a little bit. At least I hope that's kind of what's going to go on.
Well, I mean, your guys' new project is going to be the one that's vacuuming up all the smaller ones.
Oh,
I mean, come on.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice if we could become really, really big and get some jobs out there for a lot of great writers.
Yeah, because I mean, you can have great content, and there's plenty of room for full-time guys, but also people who are extremely talented, put in the work, mm-hmm. and they have the full-time job. But it's like, hey, I'll take $50 for an article a week. I mean,
right. Yeah. And I mean, there are sites that pay, that amount, but there's just not many of them, and it's tough to get those jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember Matthew Berry was like, when he was coming up and he finally got a gig that paid $50 an article, it's like, I made it. That's when he was like working on Married with Children.
Yep.
Man, such a weird path.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone in fantasy, it's like how you end up in Alaska. Like you always have a weird story.
There's a story to it.
You're running from no one. Like very few people actually.
I went to college for fantasy football. Yeah. I just got a job at it. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Or in Alaska, it's like, you're either running from something or you were in like 17 different industries and then decided to say, F it. Now I'm in Alaska.
Or you're Dexter.
I hated that ending.
Yeah, me too. The Trinity season might be the greatest season I've ever seen of TV, and they ended like that.
All right. Well, Scott, I think we're going to have you come back just to talk about TV and movies for an entire hour. But he's Scott Fish. Follow him on Twitter at ScottFish24. And what should people be checking out?
If you're interested in playing in an SFB, Scott Fish Bowl, mm-hmm. you can play with any analyst in the industry pretty much that you want to. ScottFishbowl.com. You can sign up. 5,000 plus people signed up for this year. And fantasycares.net. Mm-hmm. You can donate to my Toys for Tots drive, and even if you don't, get your lead to give one of the entry fees to a charity. It'll make everyone in your league feel good, and you won't miss it.
Yeah, I love it. Scott, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Ooh, and also, hey, when you do your draft party, it's going to be early in the morning. Grab some Bad Larry's Cold Hard Coffee, the first ever boozy coffee, a.k.a. the new drink of summer. And fantasy football season, now on shelves at your favorite liquor store, especially Total Wine all across the Twin Cities. Scott is Total Wine. I ain't got one. Working on. Bad Larry's blends cold brew coffee with malt and a perfectly sweet, unforgettable, smooth, hard coffee. As we hear the Warriors lose, hopefully. Perfect for brunch and the tailgate. Drink BadLarry.com. Bad Larry's Cold Hard Coffee. All right, we're out of here. iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, you know the drill. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Are you on Instagram?
I am not. Not yet.
You got to work on building the hashtag brand.
I got to do it. You're right.
I'm all at Andy Carlson Show and all the various social medias. You know it too. And if you enjoy me and Scott talking, tell a friend, spread the word, add to the hashtag JeromeHomieArmy. Thanks, producer Allie, for making this not sound so stupid today. But for Scott Fish. Scott Fish.
Scott Fish, yep. Not the poker player.
No, we talked about this before the show. I was a big poker guy back in the day. Scott Fishman was a pretty big entity in the early stages. I'm like, I got through the whole thing without calling Scott Fishman. Oh, no, sorry, Scott Fish, man.
there
we go. I'm Andy Carlson saying, and Young, sayonara, and bye-bye. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Bowl with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th best daily podcast. Download the show on iTunes. Everyone's middle name is Jerome.